guys are. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Vincent Ornelas, and I am on faculty with the School of Social Work at California State University, Chico. And this afternoon, we're going to be spending the next hour in terms of talking about our program, and more specifically in terms of program impaction and what that looks like and why are we here this afternoon. Before I get going, there are three things I want to note. Number one, if you are watching this and it's being live streamed and you have questions and I don't address those questions in the course of this afternoon, you can go ahead and you can contact the school, and in a few minutes I'm going to take you through our website and I'll show you how to be able to do that so that you can direct your questions to us. We have an email link there so that you can we can respond directly to your questions. Number two, in terms of this particular afternoon, this is also being recorded as it's being live streamed, and so what we will do is that next week we will post this on our website, and again I will show you where that link is. And finally, number three, I'm going to have my colleagues come up here and join me in a second, and I will introduce each of them and they will talk about their respective roles, and then as questions come up I will hand off to them to address different sorts of issues. And with that, I'm going to ask for my colleagues to join me here at the podium. I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. My name is David Bassett. I'm the chair of the department.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Seema Sehrawat. I'm a faculty in the School of Social Work, and I also coordinate the distributed learning program. We have a bachelor's and a master's that can be done in a distance format, and we'll be talking about it later in our presentation.
Great. Thank you. All right. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started then on our presentation for this afternoon. So the first thing that I want to say is I want to explain why we are here. And so I'm going to take you to the university website and then to our impaction site. So in order to be able to see the posted documents and to see this recording and to see questions that people have in terms of impaction, you need to go to our website, which is www.csuchico.edu. To go to the School of Social Work, you would put a / at the end of edu and put SWRK, and that will take you to our web page. Then in terms of the School of Social Work, we have, as my colleague was saying, we have both an undergraduate and a graduate program, and so this impaction is very specific in terms of our undergraduate program. And so when you are on our website, you will see how those are linked together, and when you come to our site, you'll see that it will have a hot topic link, and it looks just like that. And when you click on that, that will take you to the BSW program impaction. All right, and so this is our web page, and in terms of each one of these points, I will walk you through all of this. So let me just kind of give you a quick overview of what this looks like. In terms of our table of contents, you're going to see that there are a number of links, and so that first link is to the California law, which regulates and provides us direction in terms of this process, much more specifically in terms of the locations and the number of meetings that we need to have. The second link, where it reads ASA 2016 31. That is the California Education Code, and that is more specifically to the CSU. And so these are the regulations that we are following from the CSU Chancellor's Office. The next link down, I'm going to be spending a lot of time talking about that. And what that link does is it documents the number of individuals who are coming into our traditional face-to-face program as well as our distributed learning program. And you will be able to see the student growth there. The fourth button down will link you to the field placement growth chart. So for all social work programs, this is not unique to Chico State. All across the United States, there is a requirement that during the student's final year, that they complete approximately 480 hours in a community-based agency. And so we will see in a minute how many of those agencies we are now utilizing and how we cannot sustain the growth that we have seen in terms of students. The second to last link is a map of our service area. And when we talk about what impaction means this afternoon, we're going to be putting a preference in terms of a specific geographic region of the state where those students who come from that part of the state are going to receive primary preference. And that is not to say that students from other parts of California could get in, but they will be placed on a lower priority list, and they may not necessarily be able to move into the program. And then finally, the very last link that is here is in terms of historical background. And so that will kind of summarize a lot of what I'm going to talk about this afternoon, what our program is, where it's come from, and kind of bring us up to date in terms of where we are. All right. So I'm going to go, the other thing I want to show you on this is that the second field of links are announcements in terms of where and when we are having these meetings. So you can see that we had our first meeting on Wednesday, February 8th, and we did that at CSU Chico campus. And you can see on the far right there that there is a link to the recorded session. And so the same thing will happen this afternoon after we have concluded this and we have prepared the material. Then there will be a link that will be posted to this site, and that'll be available on YouTube. And so the link will be there, so you don't have to go looking through all of YouTube to find us. You can just click on the link and it'll be there. Next week, we're going to be doing this very same meeting again at Shasta College. So for those of you who are watching and you're in the north and you would like to have your questions answered face-to-face, I would encourage you to come to Shasta College next Friday, and then in 2 weeks we will have our fourth and final meeting, and that will be at our main campus site at Chico. And again, we're going to be going through the same information. The very last thing is that you will see that in this third section of the webpage, there are questions and comments. And so if you click on that link, that is an email link directly to us. And that is something that we check Monday through Friday on a daily basis. And so if there are any questions that come up, you are more than welcome to go ahead and to post them there. And then what we'll do is, you can see the very last link on that page are the submitted comments. So that is our written response to anybody that's out there. I want to remind people that in terms of submitting written comments, we have made a decision as a program that we are not going to publish individuals' names. We will publish what their institutional affiliation is. So for example, if today we're here at Yuba College, and if one of the staff or faculty have a question about anything we've discussed, it would not necessarily have that person's name, but what it would have would be Yuba College, and then it'll have what their question is, and then you'll see our posted response to that. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to go back up to the very top link, and we will, it's not what I was looking for. There it goes. Okay, so this is where I want to start off, and this is the California law. So the CSU is a public university, and we exist through the largesse of the residents of California. In essence, what we've done is we've collected taxes as a state, and we have taken those taxes to form an asset to the state of California. In this case, that is the CSU. So what we are doing now, basically in an impaction process, is we are limiting access to that resource. And so when that happens, the legislature has a set of regulations in terms of if we are going to be doing that, then that's something then we need to let people know about before it happens. And so as we are talking about impaction this afternoon, this is not something that will take effect on Monday. It's not even something that will take effect in September of 17. It will not take effect until September of 18. And so what we are required by the legislature to do is that not only do we have to have this public notification process, which is taking place now, but we also need to post and to publicize that for the next academic year, so that those individuals who are transfer students or those individuals who are high school seniors and are planning to come to the CSU, they understand what are going to be the requirements to be able to get into the program and when impaction takes place. So again, I want to emphasize that in terms of everything we are talking about this afternoon, this would take effect if the Chancellor's Office authorizes it in the fall of 2018. Okay. So as you take a look, this is Assembly Bill 2402. This was approved by the Governor of California back in September of 2010. And if you want to take a look at it, you can read this online. But I will summarize and in essence say that what we are required to do is we are required to send legal notices to area newspapers in the area that we primarily are serving. And so for us, that is the 18 counties of Northern California. And so there are 3 newspapers that we are publishing each one of these meetings in. So these are legal notices, and there's a total of 12 of those notices. And so those 3 area newspapers are the Sacramento Bee, the Reading Searchlight, and then the Chico Enterprise Record. And so there have been legal notices that have been published in all 3 of those. And so if you go to those respective websites, you're going to see a very short version of what we're presenting this afternoon. And it'll have mostly what it'll be will be where these meetings are taking place. And then there will be a link that is posted there that will take you directly to our impaction page. And so in summary, with regards to the state and the direction that they're requiring, this is why we have all of these meetings taking place, and they're taking place in terms of these geographic areas. All right, so in terms of the CSU, so this document here basically speaks to what does impaction look like, and most importantly, this is what I want to draw people's attention to, and this is in terms of our timeline. And so we are in the middle of this process, and if you take a look at it, you will see that basically we are in the process of having the 3 public hearings. We've already had the 1 public meeting. That was the first meeting we had at Chico State with stakeholders. These are now our 3 public meetings that we're having with everybody else. In essence, all 4 of these meetings are open to anybody in the public. That is inclusive of staff, faculty, students from any of the community colleges or any of the high school districts. And so we have sent those notices out to every district in the 18 northern counties. And so as you see, when you take a look at that timeline, what we will be doing is we're going to be preparing a packet that will contain all of this information, and that will go to the Chancellor's office in March, and then we will be notified in April as to whether or not they have granted us approval for this impaction process. So ultimately, we may petition, but we cannot determine on our own whether or not our program can be impacted. That is a decision that is made by the Chancellor for the entire CSU. All right. So let's speak more specifically in terms of what is going on with our students. So this first chart here, you see that there are double columns. And in terms of those columns, the columns that are on the left for each respective year indicate in green what is our capacity as an undergraduate program in terms of meeting the needs of students who want to earn their BSW from Chico State. On the right of each of those pairs of columns, there is a yellow column which speaks more to how many students do we have that are actually enrolled. And so as you take a look in terms of this, the very first set of columns is for academic year 2014-15, and you can see where we are at, and then you can see that by 2017-2018, how far over capacity we are. And so this has an impact in terms of the type of program that we would like to be able to deliver to our community, and more specifically in terms of being able to deliver to our students. And so there has been a continuing growth of the number of students who are coming in. And so to provide a little bit of context, the UC system has no BSW programs at all in the state of California. There are a handful of universities and colleges that are private, which operate BSW programs. The bulk of BSW programs in California, however, are being provided through the CSU. And so where we are at right now in California is that as I'm speaking, we have approximately 12 BSW programs across the CSU. And right now, of those 12 programs, the majority of those programs have already declared impaction. And so if impaction status is granted to Chico State, then there will be approximately 9 out of the 12 that will be impacted. And so part of what's happening is that there is less and less space that is open for people who are interested in pursuing their BSW program. And so it is impacting those programs most heavily that have not declared impaction yet. And so this is largely what is, I believe, is fueling the growth in terms of our program. And so I'll talk a little bit more about our selection criteria and what's going to happen and what that will mean in terms of us being able to meet the needs of Northern California, which is where Chico is located. Any questions? No? Okay. All right. This next chart is really speaking to the heart of why we are here this afternoon. And so on this chart, this is the growth rate in terms of the number of agencies that we are currently working with. So at the outset, let me say that in terms of our BSW program, our program meets the needs of Northern California, and it really has been at the behest of both public agencies and private agencies that our program came into being over 50 years ago. So we have a long and rich history of working with these agencies. Now, every BSW program, not just the ones that are hosted by the CSU, but every BSW program has to follow national accreditation standards. And what those standards call for is that in the student's final year, when they are taking classes, there is a internship requirement. And basically, this is the experience where all of the work that is completed in the program all comes together, and the student has an opportunity under supervision to be able to see what those concepts look like in live practice, and then to practice those concepts in terms of engaging in work with individuals, couples, families, and communities. And so it is the field placement that pulls together the entire undergraduate experience in the BSW program. In fact, in documents issued by the Council on Social Work Education, they have referred to this as the signature pedagogy of social work. And so it is a capstone, if you will. It is an integrative experience, and it is absolutely critical in order for any student to be able to earn his or her BSW degree, for them to go through this experience. And so when we take a look at that chart, what you're seeing is the growth rate over years. And so that chart starts in academic year 12-13, and it continues through academic year 17-18. So there are three sets of lines. So this bottom line, this blue line here, down here, this represents those agencies that are serving our distributed learning students. This next set of lines up here, this green line, represents our students who are in the traditional placements that are face-to-face. And then finally, the yellow line up at top represents the combination of each one of those. And so you can see, I just want to draw your attention to two data points. So when we first started collecting this data for the purposes of this chart in academic year 12-13, there was a combined 52 agencies that were serving as our sites for our field practicum, where our students spent their 16 hours a week over the course of 2 semesters. Now we're up to 121 of those agencies. So we have more than doubled in size with regards to those agencies. And so it's important that if you're watching this, to understand, what does that mean? In terms of those agencies that are out there, there needs to be an infrastructure that is in place. Not only do there need to be access to individuals, whether those are persons who are homeless, or couples where they're experiencing relationship issues, or communities that are in need of additional assets, there also needs to be in place appropriate supervision for those students. There need to be what are called agency field instructors, and there are also agency task supervisors. And so these are the individuals who work with the students and whom the students will shadow while they are in these field agencies 16 hours a week, and that is for approximately each of the 2 semesters that make up their last year in the BSW program. And that is a total of approximately 480 hours. So this is a tremendous commitment on the part of our agencies, and it is important to keep in mind 3 things with regards to these commitments. Number 1, every single one of these agencies who agrees to provide an internship to one or more of our students, they are not compensated for this from the university or from our program. They choose to do this willingly of their own volition, because those individuals who are social workers went through the very same experience when they were going through their respective BSW programs. And so this is their way of giving back, not just to the profession, but also to their community. So that's one. These agencies are not compensated for that. Number two, in terms of taking on a student to be at the agency for 16 hours a week, that person is consuming real resources at that agency, whether that's access to a phone line, that's access to a computer, that's access to a desk, and most importantly, it's access to a client population. And so that is a real commitment on the part of the agency to be able to support that student. And so some of our agencies have one student, some of our agencies have multiple students. And again, that depends upon the infrastructure of each one of those agencies with regards to how many students they can take in at any one particular time. And finally, number three, with regards to these agencies, this is a commitment that we ask these agencies to make year after year, because our program has existed for over 50 years, and we envision it continuing on well past the time when everyone who is in the room and is teaching and is directing will have retired. And so we need to maintain good faith relations with all those agencies. So we want to make sure that in terms of ensuring the quality of this program, that we maintain the quality of those relationships with our field agencies, with being able to sustain these. And so one of the things that we have done as a school is that we take advice from these agencies in terms of giving us feedback. And the feedback that they are providing to us is they have hit a point where they can go no further. They cannot sustain these internships at the growth rate that we have been experiencing over these last several years. That is going to tax severely the capacity of these agencies in terms of continuing to provide this. And so, in effect, what has happened is that we have grown beyond our capacity as a school in terms of being able to provide an educational experience that we would like to provide to students. And so I'm going to ask my colleague, Dr. Bassett, to come up here and to speak a little bit more on this topic in terms of field agencies and the importance of working with them.
Thank you. I will make one clarifying comment. And will you go back to the growth of the number of students?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. These numbers do not reflect the number of BSW students that we have. These numbers reflect our entering junior year cohorts. So we in fact actually have twice as many undergraduate students, more or less, and that is not to mention the 100 or so graduate students that we also have. Dr. Ornelas covered the issue very well in terms of how stretched the field agencies are, but I'll just say that the area agencies, we do not have any field placements. The field placements are at the agencies, and so this is not something that can be solved with additional money. It is not something that we can provide. This is a resource that's finite in terms of the infrastructure of the agencies and how many students they can take. And we have a number of agencies that we have been using, and we really appreciate their help. However, many of these agencies that we've been using have less infrastructure than the agencies that we used in the past. And what I mean by that is that they have fewer staff, fewer supervisors, less space, fewer telephones, fewer policies that regulate how the agency runs, and all of those things help contribute to the student having a positive educational experience. So we really, part of why we need to declare impaction is so that we can get back to having our field placements have the infrastructure that is really expected for this kind of educational experience. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so we have been talking about our program in terms of the number of students, but I said at the outset that when we are taking a look at these, is that we have both a traditional program as well as a distributed learning program, and that is here. And so I'm going to ask my colleague, Dr. Sarah Watt, to come up and to speak more specifically to the distributed learning program and explain how that is similar and different from our traditional face-to-face.
Thank you, Vince. We are really fortunate that we have a distributed learning program at CSU Chico School of Social Work. It has been a collaborative efforts of different agencies coming together and putting that in place. I was not there as a faculty. The effort really started 10 or so years ago. Dr. Ornalis and some of our other faculty really being on the road and going in our region and really seeing the need that we service a rural community, and for us to really address the social justice and access to quality education issue, we really need to provide education that is accessible to rural communities, and geography should not be a reason for or a barrier that would be there for people to get a bachelor's or a master's in social work. Also, when we look at our region, we also found that the child welfare agencies, behavioral health agencies, and other social service agencies were really struggling and did not have professional social workers working in those agencies and providing services in that area. So to really grow our own Superior Region Workforce Education and Partnership team came together with the University, CSU Chico, and Humboldt State to start their distributed learning bachelor's and master's in social work program. Since then, we have graduated few cohorts, and really, if we go in these several agencies, in any agencies that we go, we always find our graduates working in those agencies. In terms of impaction and how it is related, in the distributed learning program, the goal and the mission from day one has been really to serve our region, to serve Northern California, the 16 counties that we have always really served, and be here to help the communities grow their own professionals and have professional social workers in these different agencies. So if we start accepting students from other areas, we would really not be staying true to our mission. And as more and more individuals have found out about our bachelor's in social work and our master's in social work distributed learning program, we have seen a tremendous growth in both of these programs, and the numbers are really growing to where it would be hard for us to really contain it and provide that quality education my colleague Dr. David Bassett was talking about. So to keep the infrastructure in mind, to keep our service region in mind, to really grow our own, we want to stick to Northern California, and the counties that are in this map, these are the counties that we are serving and would really like to serve more and more. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So what you see right now on screen is the map of Northern California, and so our service region, and I don't know if I can make this bigger. Okay, so our service region basically, and when you go go to the website, you'll be able to see this much closer and much tighter. This is Mendocino County on the coast here, and then it pretty much goes in a straight line from across to Lake County, Colusa County, Center County, Yuba County, Nevada County. That takes us all the way to the Nevada border. And so, and it's from those counties north that we serve up to the Oregon border. And Chico is right there in Butte County. And so, you know, as we are taking a look at declaring impaction for fall 18, what we are saying is that we want to serve all of these communities that are within those Northern California counties. And so one of the things that we have received in terms of information back from our agencies is that when we are enrolling students who are from other parts of California, there's a very great likelihood that they will not be staying once they have completed their BSW program. And so that is a detriment to all of these populations who are struggling with issues in terms of their day-to-day lives. And so really what we are attempting to do as a program is to meet the human service needs of all of these populations in Northern California, and not to serve necessarily all the needs in terms of the balance of California. And that is to say that, you know, as I said at the outset, there are approximately a dozen BSW programs that are currently being operated within the CSU that are spread from Humboldt in the north to San Diego in the south, and the CSUs in between. And so we look to our colleagues in Central and Southern California to be able to meet the needs of their respective communities. And so what we are saying is that if you are a student and you are at Yuba College, for example, as we are this afternoon, and you want to earn your degree at Chico State and to become a BSW level social worker, we want to be here for you. We want to meet your needs. We want to meet the needs of your community. And the same is true for those students who are transferring from College of the Siskiyous or Lassen College or any of the other colleges within Northern California. We want to work particularly with those students. And so that is what our preference is going to be in terms of meeting those geographic needs. The thing that we have noted is, as my colleague Dr. Sarawat was saying earlier, we did a needs assessment before we implemented our distributed learning program. And what we heard as we went from county to county and from agency to agency over and over again was that these counties had tremendous needs and that they did not have the workforce in place to be able to meet all those needs. And so what our program can do is we can meet that need if we focus on primarily on those persons who have an active interest in remaining within Northern California. So particularly for those persons who are current agency employees, those persons who are working in tribal agencies, and those individuals who are working within private nonprofit agencies that are meeting these human service needs. Those are the people who we really would like to target in terms of our program to meet these needs. All right. So a little bit of background, and so in terms of, you know, our program and how we have attempted to increase capacity, I want to draw your attention to something that I have highlighted here. And so it's to reiterate what I was just saying, and that is that the emphasis on the North State candidates is based on the challenges that our regional agencies are experiencing in both recruiting and in retaining social workers. And so that is really at the core of what it is that we're trying to do here. And of all the criteria in terms of what this is going to mean in terms of impaction, this is probably the most essential, that we are focusing on those persons who already are in Northern California and already have that commitment in terms of meeting the needs of persons who are here. So what does that mean more specifically then in terms of different criteria? So one of the things that we're going to be looking at is, as before, we have maintained that all classes that are prerequisites, they need to be passed with a minimum of a C in order for that class to count as meeting one of the prerequisites of our program. However, and this is the big however, we are raising the bar in terms of GPA from a 2.0 GPA to a 2.5 GPA. So we're going to be taking a look at that, and we'll be posting that information on our website shortly in terms of the specific criteria. And so what we're asking for those of you who are counselors and advisors at community colleges is that when students identify to you that they have an interest in transferring to Chico State, that there are 5 courses that should be completed before they transfer to Chico State. And ideally, those 5 courses should all be completed by the summer before they transfer to Chico State in fall of an academic year. And so those 5 courses are human anatomy or human physiology or human biology. So it's any one of those 3 classes meets that requirement. And so within the CSU, we have a requirement for both a physical science and for a life science. And so human anatomy, human physiology, human biology will all meet that requirement in terms of life science. And so I want to draw attention to the fact that in the CSU, there is both a physical science requirement and there is a life science requirement, but there is only one lab requirement. And so I get this question probably more than any other question with regards to these prerequisite courses. Does every student have to take a lab? And the answer is no. The CSU requires that they have one lab in either physical science or in life science. So it does not have to be a lab that goes along with, for example, that human biology course. And so that is an important piece to kind of keep in mind. So that is one of the prerequisites. It's one of the golden 4. Second, we have economics. And so there is either a choice of taking introduction to economics, taking principles of microeconomics, or principles of macroeconomics. And so again, very much like when we were talking about the life science, you have a choice of one of 3 classes. Not all 3 courses need to be taken. Only one of those 3 must be completed. And that can be Introduction to Economics, that can be Principles of Microeconomics, or Principles of Macroeconomics. The third course then would be an Introduction to Psychology course. And so this is a basic psych course. And so this will provide the student with some insights about the human mind and people's thoughts and perceptions and processes. And so again, this is one of our prerequisites that we're going to be asking for. And so this has not changed in terms of the new impaction status. The next course is the sociology. And again, this is an introduction to sociology course. And so we are looking again for that course to be completed. The fifth course is statistics. And it is important that if you're watching this and you are taking a look at, well, what do I need to take before I take statistics? It's important to go through the math testing at either your CSU, like at CSU Chico, or at one of the area community colleges. And to do that at the beginning of your academic career, because for many students, it will be more than one course that they will need to take in order to prepare them to take that statistics course. So those are the 5 prerequisite courses that we're looking for to be completed by the summer before they transfer to Chico State. Now, there are 3 additional courses that must be completed before the person will be allowed to enter into what we call the professional sequence. And those 3 courses are an introduction to social work and social welfare institutions. The second course is the U.S. diversity course, and at our campus, that is Social Work 200. And then the last course is human behavior across the lifespan. And at Chico State, that is Social Work 202. Now, at each one of the area community colleges, those may be known as different courses under different departments. And so those 3 social work courses, sometimes they're offered by human services, sometimes they're offered by psychology, and sometimes they're offered by sociology. So it is important that if you have a question in terms of what is the applicable course from your specific community college, go ahead and please contact us directly, and we can provide you that information. Alternatively, you can always take a look for yourself, and you can go to www.assist.org, and that's ASSIST, and that is the repository of all of the articulation agreements between all of the CSU majors and all of the California community colleges. And we'll have it listed very specific by catalog year in terms of what has been approved and what will count in terms of transferring over. But if you have questions and you've taken a look at Assist, you are more than welcome to contact us directly, and we would be happy to walk you through that. So it is important to understand that any high school senior who wants to come to Chico State, he or she can declare social work as their major. Any student who is transferring from Yuba College or Butte College or any of the other area community colleges, they can all declare their interest in social work. However, that does not necessarily mean that they are coming into the social work major. What it means is that there will be a new designation, a pre-social work designation, and that's where those individuals will end up. And so that is where these prerequisites are absolutely essential in terms of meeting these and completing these. So again, I want to draw emphasis to each one of these courses needs to be completed with a minimum of a C in order for it to count for the social work major. It cannot be a C minus or lower. Number 2, in terms of the GPA, we are taking a look at a 2.5 GPA. Number 3, other things that we take a look at are in terms of how that student is doing outside of the classroom. So for example, things like volunteer experience in the social services, paid experience in the social services, those are things that are weighted heavily. In this part of California, one of the areas that we see a lot of needs for is in terms of meeting the needs of linguistically isolated populations. So what does that mean? In our part of the state, that means primarily those individuals who speak Spanish and those individuals who speak Hmong. And so those are two of the languages as an example of some of the things that we are looking for. And so that facility with being able to speak, to read, and to write, those are things that are going to be weighted heavily in terms of taking a look at bringing that person into social work. Other examples of things that we're going to be taking a look at also include things like those individuals who are veterans. We have a tremendous need right now for serving our veterans community, and so we are trying to do our part in terms of making sure that there is a greater weight that is given to those individuals in terms of transferring to Chico State into our BSW program. All right. Any questions? That's a lot of material. Is there anything that I skipped over my colleagues would like to speak to at this time?
I don't think so.
No? No? Okay. And in our audience, we have no other questions? Okay, so we're talking for over 50 minutes, and that's a long time, especially if you're going to be watching this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to conclude this particular session. We will be here until 2:30, and then after we leave here, you can always contact us through our website. You can send your questions directly to us. And again, so in closing, I want to remind you, this is what our website looks like. And you can see how you can either click here to go ahead and submit a question directly to us, or you can click on the very last link at the bottom of the page and you can read what kind of questions other people posed. And with that, I want to thank everybody for your indulgence this afternoon, and we appreciate your interest in our program. Thank you.